Hello, my sons. In the wise words of Friedrich Nietzsche, I hope I said that right, if you kill a cockroach, you're hailed as a hero, but kill a butterfly, you're demonized. Now, well, what does that have to do with this episode? I'm gonna stomp both of these into the ground. Oh my gosh, listen, you guys got me for mistaking the singer in Sonic Cross Worlds, but man, oh my gosh, we really don't deserve IGN reviews. They're gold for comedy, Mike. Only IGN could get me like this. Oh my gosh, I knew I needed water. Oh. Roll the clip!
Sonic 4 Episode 1 came out at a weird time where Sonic was eating dirt in reviews, and in the tail end of the 4Kids era of Sonic games, they sought out to recapture the gameplay feel of the Genesis era. Not only did this game manage to piss off those fans, but also piss off the modern fans as well, with its weird, awkward gameplay, slimy controls, and on top of that, momentum-lacking gameplay. You would think the retro stuff on handhelds would satiate the appetite for Sonic fans who wanted 2D classic-style games, such as the Sonic Advance series. But no, they actually really wanted some stuff on consoles, which is a valid argument, so Sega decided to give them this little romp. Nowadays, though, they actually want you to forget that this game ever existed, solely based on the fact that you actually can't buy this anywhere anymore, except for Steam, which already in and of itself is hard to run. That being said, the WiiWare, Xbox Live, iPhone even, and Android stuff also got this as well.
Let's give it up for the PS3 for being online with a functioning shop in 2025. Like, props to PlayStation. Kudos to them.
Rest in peace to WiiWare, Xbox Live, and, just that being on iPhones. I don't even know if it's still on iPhones.
Oh, that's right. Nobody cares.
It's also a pain to run this on newer hardware, just because it runs on, backwards compatibility aside. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 it just sucks. Even the opening is trying to catch the Sonic 1 pose, trying to milk everyone for nostalgia down to the title screen. It really should tell you how this is gonna go, but then again, they decided to slap a 4 on the end of Sonic the Hedgehog, so I really don't know how this was gonna go otherwise. We haven't even gotten past the title screen, and I could already smell early 2010s Flash game, at the time where Sega was taking cheap shots at pretty much everything with bad Sonic games, but at least they tried something new, so they had that excuse going for them. This was just trying to copy the classics.
You didn't think an all-digital game might have been a warning sign? Just a little?
Even the pre-release for this was just easily one of the craziest things, boasting the fact that none of Sonic's companions would be here after the Advance games and basically other games confirming that, yeah, these characters are going to be main staples and Sonic's friends for the foreseeable future. This just seemed so odd. It was baffling to everyone at the time, even myself.
Yeah, and it still is. It still is. What happened here?
But how could they do this in all Sonic game? That's just absurd. Where's Tails at the very least? Oh. Yeah, this game is genuinely a standalone title, but we'll get to the second part of this another time. That being said, the Episode 1 factor of this means that, yeah, this is an episodic game, so it's not even a full game. This was probably the weirdest thing about it, outside of the Sonic cast characters not being here. This game has the least amount of Sonic in any of the Sonic games in the franchise. I have said games 4 times in the last couple sentences. Can you tell this is barely a game? I really can't think of a worse 2D Sonic game, but not even the Game Gear games were this bad at this point because they had the excuse of hardware limitations. Yes, I'm counting that as a valid reason. There was just a big retro renaissance back in the early 2010s, and yeah, Mega Man 9 was a good example of this. And yeah, there were games coming back with 8-bit and 16-bit art styles. The early 2000s was filled with games like these, but Sonic 4 Episode 1 chose
a cel-shaded art style? What in the discounted Wind Waker am I looking at here? None of this fits!
Yeah, I don't know the art style here. It's honestly really confusing. Like, this isn't for modern fans, this isn't for Genesis fans, so who is this for? He's out of place in these environments, too. They look like a dang plastic toy scene, and Sonic just looks so... I don't know why they chose the cel-shaded thing here. I'm gonna be completely honest. I could buy it if the games were pixelated, if they decided to go that route. That would be more interesting, considering this has Sonic 4 attached to it, so I don't know why they didn't do that, but sure, we'll go with that. Just bad choices all around. And, yeah, like, these level title screens, too, are this blinding white bullcrap. Like, what is this? Like, who chose this? I'm man enough giving the music credit for actually being a complete bop, but the problem is I expected these tunes to be, well, with a pixelated game, because they're kind of chiptune-y in a sense, and, very, like, electro-themed, and I really think that this fits a Genesis or pixelated art style more than anything else. Here, take a listen. See? Told you so. But the game itself, story-wise, is just the typical Sonic story. Eggman's up to some bullcrap again, which, okay, yeah, that's cool, but it's not really
different. Literally, like, nothing is different.
Just the Eggman doing the same thing again. It's just, he's doing the same thing as this game right here. And I think that's indicative of what this game is. It's just really a carbon copy of what it's trying to do with the classics, but in a very, very terrible fashion. Something it does to try and differentiate itself is add the homing attack, because of course now Sonic has a new shiny move. He has to put it in the 2D games, of course. But this acts as like a cheap platforming gimmick just because, well, it feels like there was a version of this game that didn't have the homing attack for a while, and enemy placements were put instead of platforms or ground for Sonic to run on. Which, again, is just, it's weird, I guess, like, just how it feels. If you play the game, you'll find out that, yeah, it kind of feels that way just because enemy placements are either forced or in optional places that look like land could be there. Yeah, speaking of the levels, let's get into them. Splash Hill Zone.
Diet Green Hill Zone.
And no one can really argue that either, just because it's the same scenery, the same enemies from the classics too. Also, you end up with each of the classic little boxes that you have to bop enemies out, which, yeah, that makes sense if you're trying to be indicative of the classics, so that's not much of a gripe, just kind of showing the comparison between the classics and the original. Where it gets really weird is just the boss. Like, you're using the same boss from Sonic 1, like, why? Like, what was the point of that? Casino Street Zone.
Diet Casino Night Zone.
There is admittedly a cool card theme gimmick, and, you know, the vibe is casino-y. You know, the Carnival Canyons also are a nice touch. It's just one of those things where, even though you add gimmicks, you don't really like what you're playing. The fact that Sonic Spin Dash doesn't even have momentum should also tell you what this game is all about. Again, cheap flash game that doesn't really make any sense. The Spin Dash momentum doesn't carry, and then on top of that, when you're on the ground, it really doesn't carry as well. I'm supposed to be rolling around at the speed of sound here, not rolling around at a mild pace. And you can look at the original trilogy for example of this, because the Spin Dash carries forward, and obviously, like, you know, if you look at the originals, you're gonna see that, yeah, no, this makes sense for momentum-based gameplay. You're actually moving here versus whatever Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is doing. Because in the original, it actually carries you through obstacles and enemies, and of course, pathways for the player. But, God, this just sucks, and this is why it put off so many Sonic fans for this exact reason, if not all of them, because this didn't help the modern Sonic enjoyers, and this didn't help the Genesis enjoyers, so no one really benefit from this, because whether it's 2D or 3D, this game just sucks. The boss of this is also a reused Sonic boss, similar to the one from Hydro City, and yes, I said Hydro City.
Hydro City, and yes, I know what political party I stand with.
In Sonic 3, and I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to reusing assets, one, as a developer, and two, just as a gamer, because obviously I can kind of see through the cracks when it comes to a few of these things, but, I mean, it's new in the sense that, yes, it is a new boss, but it's old in the sense that it's, like, similar patterns and just certain things that just obviously pull from the original trilogy, and I don't know, it just screams, I should have tried better.
Anyway, what's the next stage? Oh, no.
Lost Labyrinth Zone. Look, I can't even... The fact that they decided to try and capture the energy of Labyrinth Zone is very brazen of them, just because, well, Labyrinth Zone in Sonic 1 is probably the worst stage there. No one liked that zone. I can't imagine anyone who did. And if you did, well, you know, you, the one person in the back of the class, can sit down because everyone else hates it. This is a false sense of redemption for Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1. It has a lot more annoying obstacles to boot. Things that just made my face wrinkle every time I decided to play this level for the sake of recording, and thankfully it wasn't much because I really didn't want to get too much recording for this. Forget the fact that Sonic stands out like a sore thumb here. You also have annoying obstacles as well. The thing is, I don't even feel like I'm playing a Sonic game. That's the problem. I don't know what I'm playing here. It has Sonic in it, but, you know, it's not really, you know, invoking that sense of, oh, going around at the speed of sound, you know, blue blur vibe. It's terrible. What is this? Every time I see these boulders on a screen, I audibly sigh every time because I just know how weird and janky it is. And then on top of that, like, why is he carrying this torch? Look, it's a gimmick, and I don't think anyone can deny that, yeah, these gimmicks are terrible, but, like, literally in any video game, like, why? Just why, right? And why is there dynamite here? But then also, hey, I have to remember that this art style doesn't even treat it like a Sonic game, so why should I try and treat it like a Sonic game? Even Sonic Forces understood how to at least be a Sonic game.
I just gave Sonic Forces a W, and a well-warranted W. Well, I think that says a lot more about me than it does, IGN.
Also, for the record, IGN gave Sonic Forces a 6.9, so haha, nice. Now, the bosses at this point really made me realize that they're just reusing a lot of the old patterns and stuff from previous Sonic games in attempts to make something new. But if you've ever been a part of the series before, you know, you can see throughout the ages that this is just not it, and it's very tragic. The name alone was supposed to invoke something great, but, you know, the product we got afterwards is just not really... Yeah, this is no Sonic 4. Anyway, Mad Gear Zone. This one had me tied between Scrap Rain Zone from Sonic 1 and Metropolis Zone from Sonic 2. So, you know, to its credit, even though it's near the end, I think this is one of the most unique stages, but this is also one of the instances where, you know, you really got to get the level designer and the level artist together in the same room, because what is going on here? I just can't tell what's the foreground, what's the background, and, like, it's just bad all around. The fact that this is the last level before the main course, which is just, we'll get into that, but it's just, it's bad. All of it's bad. Like, the fact that I couldn't pick out what zone this is closely tied to is also just another reason why this game had a lot of misdirection. I don't really care that there's this impending wall of doom as a gimmick towards the end of one of the, you know, stages. I just really can't find any fun in this, and that's really sad, actually. I think what's problematic here is that there's not one original single idea, and that's a problem. The gimmicks of this game is also indicative of what this game actually is. Just a gimmick and a quick cash grab. Because again, this was ported to iOS as well, so it's not like Sega even took this seriously because of the phone boom back in the day. They wanted as many people to play this as possible, whether it was good or not. The fact that these ideas are not unique is just a side effect of the fact that this is a genuine cash grab, in my opinion. Like, they essentially copy-pasted bosses, levels, assets from the older Sonic games, and I don't know, I mean, I think they made new code, but with how they move and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of reused code as well. Also, I've said this before, but this was a bitch to run on Steam. Apparently, you needed some unique JavaScript. I don't know, man. Egg Station Zone. Now, this is the final portion of the game, which is just a boss rush gauntlet, going through the previous bosses with less health, and, you know, boss rushes are usually used for end-of-game reward stuff, usually, but, you know, this game sees it as a means of belittling itself even further, it seems. Kind of like how IGN gave this an 8 out of 10. The fact that IGN gave it an 8 out of 10 is just really... Oh man, I really don't know if this says more about IGN or that game, but I'm just willing to put money on the fact that both are terrible. Either way, the final boss is now the Death Egg robot, which, yeah, from Sonic 2, it's just, there's like a few new bells and whistles, and this cheap shot at the end, I guess, but like, I don't know, this just does not make me happy to play it. It's slow, it's clunky, and to be honest, I'd rather just be playing Sonic 2. Is there a saving grace to this game? Alright, fine, there's like two things that we could talk about that might be small saving graces, but not really. So we should talk about these. First off, your only other reward is if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, you can jump, you know, into these gold rings and get Supersonic, and the levels themselves are just these trippy mazes that just, I get so dizzy every time looking at them, just to find these magic rocks. And, you know, my issue isn't that, you know, oh, Supersonic is the reward. No, that's not the problem. Supersonic's been a staple in many Sonic games. It's the fact that they decided to bring these acid trips back.
Okay, pro tip. Get the early emeralds in the later stages, and then get the later emeralds in the early stages. This way, it's easier to be able to play the levels again and again, because they really rip the controls from the player. I mean, they suck. I've been complaining about them. I have complained about them. I will complain about them. I don't know what Sega was thinking. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. It was dimps?
You know, even though you can retry it over and over again, if you fail, though, you have to try the stage all over again, and it is just terrible. Beating the base game without Supersonic just feels like a chore, and yeah, for the sake of the channel, I could not do it without Supersonic. I made sure to get him as soon as possible. And that's the problem. This game is incredibly short, because you can get this so early on, and honestly, there's only not even a handful of stages.
And Sega thought the same thing.
Yeah, Episode Metal. If you bought the second part of this incomplete trilogy, you got Episode Metal, where you play as the stages as Metal Sonic, just in reverse. So you work your way backwards from the stages that you just did, which, okay, big whoop, I guess. When I say I could care less about this, I really want to say it with my chest.
I could care less.
Like, what was the point of this? What was the point of adding this outside of just padding? Like, you wanted to hype people up for a game no one was going to care about in the first place? Except maybe hardcore Sonic fans, which, okay, fine, sure.
Well, my sons, both the cockroach and butterfly are stomped out. And I'll let you decide which one's the cockroach and which one's the butterfly between IGN and Sonic 4. And, yeah, this game had the potential, but lacked any originality to do so. Kind of like how IGN lacks originality when it comes to pandering to big companies that decide to throw them an extra, you know, couple thousands of dollars to talk about a game that no one really cares about. And also give it a scathingly positive review for some reason. But hey, what do I know? A healthy mind inhabits a healthy body when it comes to these things, and I have the healthy mindset of thinking for myself. Sonic 4 sucks.